Hi, my name is Carrie Taminia. Welcome to the Love Alchemy Sessions episode 2. New Moon in Virgo happened this weekend. You might be feeling the effects from that, especially coming off of the kind of heavy retrograde, heavy eclipse season that we experienced throughout August and July. This new moon should feel a little bit more gentle and a little bit more refreshing, but also really be pushing you to deal with some stuff that maybe you haven't been dealing with. So the new moon, as you may know, is always about new beginnings, new starts, fresh pages, setting intentions, dictating how you think you want to move forward. And Virgo in its best is about not perfectionism like so many people kind of associate Virgo with, but it's really about looking deep within yourself versus what's going on around you, and doing that inner work that is so necessary. Really evaluating the things in your life that aren't working, really evaluating kind of those problematic or disastrous parts of your personality, the things that aren't really serving you, even if you've been kind of clinging to them and hanging on. So this new moon in Virgo is really asking us to spend some time looking at our own depths, spend some time really dissecting the parts of us that we're maybe uncomfortable looking at, really dissecting the parts of us that maybe we would prefer that we don't address or keep hidden or people aren't aware of. Really looking at the deepest and darkest of our personality and figuring out what is working, what's not working, what has to be dealt with, what doesn't have to be dealt with right now. And then really getting to doing the work and dealing with it. Because part of the thing that we do a lot of times is we love the new moon, right? It's super trendy. Everything on the internet right now, if you follow any kind of spiritual communities or energy healers or astrology people, everyone's like new moon, and we love the new moon because it's such an amazing time to start over. We as human beings, we love to start over. We love starting over. And so new moon is like the perfect and ideal opportunity to really have an excuse to do that over and over again. But what we do as human beings, which isn't going to work with this new moon in specific, is we have the tendency to be like super gung-ho in the beginning and really want to do the starting over part and the rituals and the meditations and then not do anything after that. We don't want to follow through with the moon cycle and really get down and do the nitty-gritty work. So what this new moon is not asking you to do is you kind of dig around in your own muck and mire. It's not asking you to become an uber perfectionist, and it's not asking you to self-criticize. It's just asking you to be real about yourself and be real about your tendencies and your patterns and the things that you've set up in your personal life, in your relationships, in your love life, in your professional life. It's just asking you to show up and be honest about what's there so that you can assess what's working and what's not working. It isn't about some overarching, this is good and this is bad, or this is good enough and this isn't good enough, this is perfect and this isn't perfect, this is right, this is wrong. That is a human construct, that thing that we do, this right and wrong and perfect and not perfect, and that's a human worldly thing that doesn't help anybody. It's not serving you, it will never serve you. You can keep trying that process over and over and over again and it's never going to work. Like, it will never ever get better. It's never going to change anything. It will land you in the same circumstance over and over and over and over again as the universe tries to get it through your head that there is no overarching level of perfection that you have to reach. There is no standard or mark that you have to hit in order to be a good enough human or to deserve good things or good love or good relationships. That doesn't exist. If you are functioning in your life on that kind of a standard, you've put that there for yourself. And just as easily as you put it there, maybe without even realizing it, maybe from your learnings from your childhood or your parents or a trauma or another relationship, you can remove it. That's your decision. The important part of this human experience is that you engage in the process of making adjustments and changes as the opportunities are presented. That you engage in the process of learning and understanding more about yourself and more about others as the opportunities are presented. In light of this Virgo new moon asking you to really kind of dig down and do some deep inner work, I thought the most appropriate thing to chat about this Love Alchemy session, not only because it's really important for this type of work, but also really important for relationships, whether it's a romantic relationship or otherwise. And something that we don't spend a lot of time talking about, but so many people misunderstand, is boundaries. Boundaries are so incredibly important, and we fuck them up royally all the time as human beings and as women. We suck at boundaries. God, we suck at it. And there's just so much misinformation and misunderstanding out there about boundaries and what they're for and how to use them and how to be effective with them. So I figured, because boundaries are such a personal thing and they really are about you, what better time to begin assessing some of the boundary patterns in your life than, with the oomph and power of the Virgo new moon behind you, kind of nudging us into evaluating those types of inner things anyway. Boundaries. So whenever we talk about relationships, we talk about boundaries a lot. Everyone likes to talk about them, and we like that word. We love to talk about boundaries and just, espouse how many boundaries that we have and how we're maintaining our boundaries and we're setting the boundaries. And boundaries are, so important, and they are. But it's really important that we understand them and what they actually are meant to do before we kind of go sticking them around in our lives. What happens so often as I meet with people about their current relationships, about their past relationships, about their hopes and their dreams for, their love life, is the topic of boundaries always comes up. And it always comes up in the same way. Either my client will be describing a past relationship they were in, or their current relationship, or some interaction with some person in their life, and they will make a statement or indicate that they are attempting to set boundaries with another person, and they'll always say something like this, along these lines. Such and such, it speaks to me, has a tendency to speak to me in a way that is incredibly disrespectful. And so I'm setting boundaries, and I told that other person, they are no longer permitted to speak to me in that way. And I wait a few minutes for the other part of the sentence, because a true boundary needs another part, and it's never there, most often. And this trap that we fall into is that we set boundaries from a place of focusing on other people's behavior. So we decide what it is about another person or an interaction or a relationship that we are dissatisfied with, that we don't like, that doesn't work for us. And sometimes that's legitimate, and sometimes it's just an opinion. But either way, we focus on the behavior of the other person. We focus on what they're doing or not doing, how they're speaking or not speaking. And in reality, true boundaries, healthy boundaries, have everything to do with you and nothing to do with the other person. Let me say that again, because this is really important. Actual boundaries have everything to do with you and nothing to do with the other person. True boundaries have everything to do with your behavior and nothing to do with the other person's behavior. And we have such a tendency to come at boundaries from a place of control. And we confuse control and manipulation for healthy boundaries. When in actuality, boundaries are a really divine source of self-control and self-love and self-respect. Boundaries that we set, the ones that are healthy and functional, and the ones that will, if you do it intentionally, play the biggest role in our lives and in our relationships and our love lives. Those boundaries set rules and confines and structures for our own behavior, not for the behavior of other people. You have every right. You have every inherent divine right, no matter who you are, where you came from, or what you've been through. You have every inherent right to set your own boundaries. You have every inherent right to be respected. And you have every inherent right to say what is acceptable and what is unacceptable in your experience. But the application of those boundaries, the application of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, falls on you, not on the other person. We cannot change other people. This is the biggest hiccup in most relationships. We cannot change other people. You cannot change the behavior of other people. It doesn't work. You can spend your life trying, and it doesn't work. It's not why you're here, and it's not the purpose of being in a relationship to change the other person. And likewise, your boundaries are not intended to change other people. They're intended to dictate your behavior. So, when someone comes to me and they say, I told my husband, or I told my boyfriend, or I told this coworker, they will no longer speak to me that way. I'm waiting for the other half of the sentence because I'm waiting to see how that boundary dictates their behavior. Their personal behavior, not the behavior of the person that they're trying to put the boundary on. Because the truth is that you can't change how other people speak to you. But what you can do is set a standard for yourself that if you aren't spoken to respectfully, then you do X, Y, and Z. Then you leave the room, leave the conversation, disengage. Remember, your boundaries are about your behavior. Control is about other people's behavior. When we enforce boundaries, changes happen. When we set healthy boundaries that are about us, that are consistent, and that are because we are, things around you will change. Your relationships will change. You will lose some people. You will gain some people. And at times, people in your life will adjust their behavior to meet your boundaries. And that's totally acceptable. And it's totally okay, as long as they are choosing to change their behavior. Your boundaries are about you. And sometimes that means you leave a relationship. Sometimes that means you walk out of the room. Sometimes that means you set a consequence for behavior that does not match the boundary that you've set. How you enforce your boundaries is up to you, but the key is being consistent and about always focusing on yourself. So you can see how this fits into this Virgo new moon energy, asking you to dig deep and make adjustments on those inner levels for you. So I would challenge you this week to really consider and look at how the boundaries in your life are playing out. Are they working? Do you have boundaries? Are you one of the many of us who get confused and are actually using control and not setting healthy boundaries? What relationships do you need more boundaries in? What relationships do you need to maybe let go and step back because the boundaries you've set are actually not healthy? As you engage in that process and you start to look at your relationships and look at your interactions and look at your boundaries and see where maybe they're lacking or see where maybe they're misguided, remember that it's not about self-criticism and it's not about perfectionism and it's not about right or wrong. And if your boundaries are lacking or your boundaries are misguided, it's not because you're wrong or you're not good enough. It just means now you have more information and it's time to make adjustments to set healthy boundaries in your life. Either way, boundaries are such an important topic, and they're so important in our relationships, so important as we move through the world. And I just wanted to offer you a resource to clear out any emotions that might be coming up, any feelings, any self-criticism, any judgment, as you kind of dive deep into your own boundary setting and move through some of the issues that might arise as you set new boundaries, and some of the feelings that might arise as you evaluate existing boundaries in your existing relationships. If you're new to EFT tapping, it is a powerful yet simple and very accessible energy technique based on acupressure and the Chinese meridian system. All you have to do is follow along. I'm going to tap on specific points. We're tapping lightly just to stimulate the point. Your intention is what's most important. And repeat the words that I say. Feel free to make adjustments to the words to help them reflect your specific feelings and your specific circumstances if you feel so led. The more specific tapping is, the better it works. But because the intention is what is most important, you can also follow along and not say any words. It will still move the energy and make adjustments for you as you're using it. So there is no right or wrong as you kind of follow along with this video. Feel free to do whatever you feel most led to do. We're going to start on the side of the hand, this kind of soft bit here. Using just a couple of fingers. We're not tapping so hard that it's uncomfortable, just lightly tapping. And you can repeat after me. Even though I haven't set good boundaries in the past. And even though I may not have understood boundaries in the past, right here and right now, I'm okay. And I truly and deeply love and accept myself anyway. Even though I haven't set good boundaries in the past. And I can probably think of specific examples where I would have been better off if I had set some better boundaries. Right here and right now, I'm still okay. And I truly and deeply love and accept myself anyway. Even though I haven't always set good boundaries in the past. And I haven't always understood what good boundaries are in the past. Right here and right now, I'm absolutely okay. And I truly and deeply love and accept myself anyway. We're going to move to the inside of the eyebrows, kind of right where your eyebrow starts. I haven't always set good boundaries in the past. On the outside of your eye. I haven't always set good boundaries in the past. Under your eye. I didn't know what good boundaries were. Under your nose. Maybe I didn't have a good model for good boundaries. Your chin. Maybe my parents and my family, my past relationships, didn't help me learn how to set good boundaries. And your collarbone, I haven't always set good boundaries. Under your arm, I haven't always been good at setting boundaries. And the top of your head. I haven't always understood good boundaries. And we're going to repeat the same sequence, again repeating the words that I'm giving you. I haven't set good boundaries. I can think of really specific examples where I didn't set very good boundaries. I probably would have been better off if I could. I haven't always set good boundaries. Maybe I didn't have a good model. Maybe no one taught me how to set good boundaries. I haven't always set good boundaries. I haven't set good boundaries in my love relationships. I haven't set good boundaries in my professional relationships. I haven't set good boundaries in my friend relationships. Even when I wanted to. Maybe I didn't know how. Maybe I felt like I needed to compromise in order to be loved and accepted. Maybe I set boundaries, but I didn't know how to maintain them. Or maybe if I'm really honest, I set boundaries from a place of control and manipulation. I didn't intend to. It wasn't malicious. I'm just learning. I'm learning about boundaries. I didn't always set good boundaries in the past. I haven't set good boundaries in the past. Maybe I didn't have a good model. No one taught me. I didn't set good boundaries in the past. Maybe I felt I had to compromise my boundaries. We're going to move back to the side of the hand. Even though part of me may have felt like I needed to compromise my boundaries in order to be loved and accepted, right here and right now, I'm still okay. Even though part of me didn't know how to set good boundaries and maintain them, and I'm still learning, right here and right now, I'm absolutely still okay. And I love and accept myself, no matter what. Even though part of me believed that I couldn't set good boundaries because of what I've learned, because of what was modeled for me, or because I had to compromise to feel loved and accepted. Right here and right now, I truly and deeply love and accept myself anyway, for myself. And back to our eyebrow. I'm still learning about boundaries. Boundaries are complicated. Boundaries aren't always easy. I might not have had a good model. I haven't always set boundaries. But I'm open and willing to learn. I'm still learning about boundaries. That's my job here as a human. To learn and grow and evolve. And so it's only natural that I have to learn about boundaries at some point. And I choose to remember that even though I might have not have set good boundaries in the past, and even though I might not have had a good model, that I can always learn more and make adjustments from there. My past relationships may not have had good boundaries, but my future relationships can. My past relationships may not have had good boundaries, but my future relationships can. I didn't have a good model for boundaries. No one taught me how to have good boundaries. But I'm open and willing to learn. And I choose to remember that things can be different and better from this point forward. I choose to remember that my boundaries can grow and evolve and expand from this point forward. I choose to remember that I was never meant to be perfect. I choose to remember that my past relationships and my past boundaries don't have to mean anything about me or my future relationships. It's just more information. As I evaluate my boundaries and I learn more about them, I choose to accept that as just more information. I choose to accept that information as an opportunity to grow, evolve, and learn, which is exactly why I'm here anyway. We're going to go back to the side of the hand. Even though I'm still learning about boundaries, and I may not have had the best models, and I may not know everything. I choose now to love and accept myself anyway. Even though part of me may have compromised to feel loved and accepted. And part of me may have compromised because I wasn't sure if I deserved the boundaries that I wanted. Right here and right now, I'm absolutely okay. And I choose to love and accept myself completely anyway. Even though part of me is used to making boundaries about other people. And that can be a hard lesson to learn. Right here and right now, I'm still okay. And I truly and deeply love and accept myself anyway. Okay? Boundaries can be a hard lesson to learn. That's okay. I may have gotten it wrong in the past. That's okay. I may not set perfect boundaries in the future. That's okay. It might take me a long time to learn and adjust my boundaries. I'm still okay. Because learning is allowed to be a process. And I'm a human. And the reason I'm on this planet is to learn. I'm open to learning more about my boundaries. There may be parts of me that thought I had to compromise to be loved and accepted. But maybe it's possible that all the love and acceptance I need comes from me anyway. There may be part of me that isn't sure that I deserve the boundaries that I want. Maybe it's possible that my boundaries are all about me. And because they belong to me, there is no issue of deservedness. And part of me may not be sure how to set boundaries or how to maintain them. But maybe it's possible that the more I evaluate and practice, and the more I learn, the easier it will get. I am open to setting new boundaries. I am open to honestly evaluating the boundaries that I currently have. And I am open to new interactions and fresh interactions that honor and respect the boundaries that I set. And I choose to remember that should they not, I have the power and the control to decide how to respond. Because my boundaries are about me and not other people. My boundaries are set by me and not other people. My boundaries belong to me and no one else. And I'm choosing to take this opportunity to release the boundaries that may have been dictated to me by other people in my past. To release the boundaries that I saw modeled by my parents or my dysfunctional family or past relationships. And create new, aligned boundaries that have everything to do with me. Because they're mine. And boundaries that free me to release the need to control other people or their behavior. Because I recognize that the only thing in my control is myself. And I recognize that I am completely in my own control. I am the ocean, and the ocean just is. And I am. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. I would invite you to pay attention to the thoughts and the feelings, the stories and the examples that came up for you as you went through this tapping exercise. Be aware that things might come up that need some deeper introspection or some work with a professional. And if there's any way that I can support you or help you, please leave a comment or drop me a message. And I am happy to partner with you on your journey toward amazing, healthy, astounding boundaries.